Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show with your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Hey.
Yes.
We are on track for some killer numbers this month, and we can only thank the people that are listeners.
That's right.
Listening.
People that are listeners.
People. For the... try that again. No.
Words, they're tough sometimes.
Well, yeah, they're tough all the time for me. I'm half asleep, and I've got some Monster Energy drink in me, so it should be interesting.
At least the other half's here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you, listeners, for definitely spreading the word. This is getting spread around.
It is.
Because it's starting to...
I'm seeing evidence.
Yes.
I am.
And we got some really good guests coming up.
Yes, we do.
And we can't thank you guys enough for clicking through the Amazon banner.
Well, we could thank you enough, but we decided to thank you more.
Exactly. And the PayPal banner. And then, of course, go to our website, ampsandaccesscast.com.
Right.
You got all of our social media there. Get on the Instagram, everybody. Start following us on the Instagram. We've got forget how many thousands of 1,000 to 1,300, something like that on Twitter. But the Instagram is the place now. So if you really want to see all the stuff, just go to Instagram and you'll see our stuff. You can get it through Twitter because it goes down.
Right.
Or Facebook. You can like us on Facebook, too.
That's true. That's true. I like us on Facebook.
Yeah.
I do. I
do, too. Now I'm out there. So.
I haven't hit the Instagram thing yet.
I'm on the Insta. I'm on the
where all the
Twitter.
youngsters are.
Yeah, well, not me. But I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook now, and I'm getting crazy requests, and I saw some old friends over the weekend.
Oh, nice.
A little benefit that we hold for a bass player that passed away.
Passed on way too early.
Like 20 years ago.
That's way too early than way too early.
Yeah. Les Eisenach. He was just a great guy. Awesome writer. Great bass player. And a really good singer, too. So the guy just kind of all packaged. And
a sharp-looking dude.
Yeah, he...
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, he commanded a room when he walked in, and he didn't even try.
Right.
The ladies would just literally be falling all over themselves. It was kind of interesting to hang out with the guy. Because I used to sit back and watch and go, this is like crazy.
Right.
But
you're right. Fun to watch.
Yeah. It was a good time with him, and totally just an awesome night. They have a little thing that still perpetuates money for scholarship funds locally here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, hey,
I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I would have.
Well, you were at the other thing.
I was at the Ravens reunion.
Yes.
So.
And which was a big deal because they haven't done that in a long time.
It was, and it was a great room, and it just sounded insanely good. And everybody was on their game.
I saw that back line.
Yes, my man, Mr. Rob Fahey.
Yeah,
Mr. Ray's down the radio.
Yeah.
He always plays. He's been playing East since the first year I started the company. Matter of fact, his wife. We probably went over this. His wife bought him a Club 18 after he had heard the prototype at one of the Invisible Sound Studio get-togethers that everybody brings amps and plays all these vintage amps. He came home and said, "This amp is amazing. It's inspirational. I got to have one." And his wife called up mine and said, "I'd like to buy one of those amps for his birthday next Thursday," or whatever it was. And she's going, they're not even available yet. They're not even built yet. She was very disheartened. I said, you know what? I'll make it happen. So his wife bought him serial number 1.
Wow.
And it was delivered on his birthday at the club he was playing downtown Baltimore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was very cool.
Oh, man.
So, but he wanted more because he was next to their bass player, Mr. Lee Townsend. And Lee was pumping out some watts on
He had
stage.
some kind of crazy setup. It looked like two
No, four 210s.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was 4 210s.
Because it looked like individual 210 cabinets.
They are.
Oh, well, there you go.
There's 4 of them. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
And
maybe I should have listened to what you just said.
4 210s. Yeah, so Rob needed a little extra horsepower, so I went out and gave him a little extra horsepower, and maybe.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. It's
good night. That's right. We no longer have children, but.
What the hell?
But maybe I'll find a good picture and we'll post it up on the site.
Yeah,
or something, that would be fun. Or I'll throw it onto the Facebook page.
So real quick before our guest comes on.
Yes.
I've found this article in Guitar World.
Okay.
It's about the automatic robotic tuners. Now, we can't get too far into this, and really it's not too much to talk about, but they talk about how everybody, he said, we're all kind of dependent on these new tuners now, whether it's a clip-on, whether it's a pedal, whether it's in your software, in your modeling device.
Tuners in general.
And then Gibson actually has these, well, not just Gibson, there's other companies have these robotic tuners that automatically tune the guitar.
I mean, they're on all the Les Pauls now, I think.
I think they're on all.
Damn near.
I think they're anything with 3+3, yeah. So the Les Pauls, the SGs, because it's that way that thing's made. So what this article gets into is, are kids missing out on this, and can it be harmful later down the road?
You mean not having an ear?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, not just maybe not even knowing how to tune a guitar.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing the fifth fret or the harmonic.
I mean, wasn't that in the first couple of pages of the Mel Bay book or something?
I think it's past how you hold your left hand, how you hold your right hand.
Right.
Here's how you tune it.
Right. This is a pitchfork.
Yes.
And this is what you do with it.
And go to the piano, and this C
or that
this,
note, right?
This E is the one. So if you're listening, you may be younger, and you may be one of these ones that have fallen a little bit to this. Learn how to tune it without a tuner. It'd be a good idea. Look, you can use a reference tone. That's not what they're talking about.
Right.
Not everybody has perfect pitch. So you can use a reference tone, but actually know how to tune the guitar.
Tune each string relative
to the other
string. Right.
Yeah. So,
it's 99 times out of 100, it may not be close enough for really, important studio work.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sure you can get, we all do, you get close enough for rock and roll, and it's like, I got 3 seconds, let me get this in tune, blah, 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 go.
Oh, yeah.
And, we've all been there. We've all had to do that.
Absolutely.
If you can't do it in any way, shape, or form without a tuner, well, then you're going to feel a little bit lost. So just practice it. Get a reference tone. Usually it's an A or something. Get a reference tone and learn how to relatively tune each string from that tone.
Yeah. Yeah, because I when I was reading this, I didn't even think about it, right?
Me neither.
Because we've all learned, we're older generation, so we've learned this. We learned the way.
Right.
You had no option. Matter of fact, there weren't. Okay, so just to let everybody know, if back in our day, a tuner that you would plug into would be a Sun strobe tuner or
Constrobe tuner.
Constrobe tuner.
Or a Peterson strobe tuner.
Or a Peterson,
right.
Which would have ran you probably back then $500 maybe?
Could be. There were lots of money.
Only pros had them.
Especially...
I never saw anybody ever have one. I'd see like Eddie Van Halen. With one.
Piano tuners used to use them, I think, back in the day.
They were tube driven.
Yes.
Yeah. Had a wheel that spun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually used one in high school.
Yeah.
I remember they were not cheap.
No, I still have one around somewhere.
Do you?
Yeah.
Especially for their time, too. So,
right.
Everything was done with either a real piano or a tuning fork.
Or right.
Or a pitch pipe.
Pitch pipe also, yeah. A tuning fork is like A440, so you set your A string.
Yep. And then go from there.
And then everything is tuned relative to that.
And you knew whether your guitar was intonated or not.
True. True. Especially if you went past cowboy chords.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So, anyway... We have a pretty cool guest coming up.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and tune your guitar. But do you want to give his stuff, or do you? It doesn't matter. He's got a cool career because he does this twofold.
He's got a couple of careers.
Yeah, well, he's cool, man.
And he actually he's been playing for a while. He also plays with one of our previous guests.
Yes, and Mr. We have to give thanks where thanks are. Mr. Michael Charvel gave us this gentleman's name first, and then he gave us our other guest. So
really?
Yeah, it's a little bit backwards. He could not make it, so we interviewed the other guy, and now we're back to him. So yeah.
So we'll take a break, and we'll bring him back, and him's name is Greg Marra.
Hey, this is Sully from Sully Guitars, and when I'm not drinking a Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, or when I am, I'm also listening to the Amps and Axes podcast.
And we're back, and as promised, from a restaurant somewhere in the good old USA. I don't remember where, but we have Greg Marra. Greg, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? How you guys doing?
It's going great, man. We're doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and have lunch, I guess.
Absolutely.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah, we're here at Taste Chicago in Burbank.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only place with Wi-Fi, so we thought we'd double up and have some lunch, too.
Sweet.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, man.
Now I'm hungry, damn it. So we got to get through the interview first, and then I'll go find some pizza here.
Yeah, there we go.
So Greg, the show is, of course, Amps and Axes, and we like to talk about things like amps and axes, but we also like to dig into the person, to the guest, and find out where they came from and what put them on the musical path. So where did Greg come from? Where were you born and raised, and what put you into into music?
Right. Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, just outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And very much, pig country out there. I mean, it's a lot of farmland. So, when other kids were fishing or hunting or whatever they were doing, a lot of my buddies and I, we were just playing our guitar every day, every night.
Nice.
So having grown up in an area where there are a lot, it's definitely a hotbed of many amazing musicians. You learn a lot from your buddies, and that's how I did it.
Yeah, some good friends of mine, are from that area, and had a pretty good band.
Oh yeah, there are a ton of great musicians still in that area.
Oh yeah, like John Palumbo and Joe Macri and Joey D'Amico, and
a couple guys,
a couple notables from back in the day.
Yes,
a little band called Crack the Sky.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Yeah. So, when did you start playing? I mean, how young were you when you first got turned on to it? And do you remember what your first instrument was?
Yeah. Well, my mom likes to say I was 3. But I've seen the pictures, and it's a little plastic acoustic cowboy guitar that was basically a toy.
Awesome.
So I'll say more like maybe 7th grade. I started to get serious about it, and I remember. My aunt must have had a JCPenney catalog that she got everyone Christmas gifts out of the back of the thing. And one year, I got the Harmony guitar and an amp combo for Christmas. And that kind of started off. That was like 7th grade. And with that junky guitar and amp, I also had a friend lent me an MXR, one of the gold, like 70s, the MXR, I forget what it was called. It was like the gold pedal that everyone had back in like the late 70s.
Yeah, Distortion Plus.
Was it
Distortion Plus? That's it.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were yellowish but gold.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They were kind of yellowish.
Yeah.
Wow. So Distortion Plus and a Harmony guitar and amp. That
was it.
That's a new combination for me, but that's actually kind of cool. That's actually I can't imagine what that would have sounded like. Do you still have the Harmonies?
You know what? I think my mom. No, as far as the pedal goes, I actually gave that back a couple years ago to the guy that. His older brother gave it to me.
Wow.
So I kind of returned it to its rightful owner. And then as far as the guitar goes, that may have gone back to a relative or something, a younger kid. When I got older and got I think my first decent guitar was like $150, was like a BC Rich Warlock.
Nice.
That was like the NJ series or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that guitar, the Harmony would have gone back to somebody else. So no, I don't still have that.
Wow.
That's so ironic, because our last show we were talking to John Sullivan from Sully Guitars, and his first guitar that he said was an NJ series BC Rich.
Yeah, it was a Warlock.
It was a Warlock.
It was a Warlock. Yeah.
Yep, Black Warlock. Yeah. In fact, I played my first high school talent show with that guitar.
Wow.
Nice.
And cool guitar, man. Fixed bridge. Good work done.
Yeah, I had a NJ series bitch back in the day.
Yeah, my old bass player lent me his Gunslinger. He had
those were cool. Man.
Yeah, an American-made Gunslinger.
I don't remember those.
It was a one pickup Strat type reverse headstock. Floyd Rose, you know.
Wow.
That thing screamed, man.
Those are great.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool guitar.
Yeah.
And I think Tracy Guns might have had the Gunslinger.
Yeah, he
BC
was
Rich at one point.
Yeah, he was a real big BC Rich
well,
user.
that would make sense.
You know.
Yeah. Bernie was an innovator, man.
Yeah.
Really
Bernie
Rico. Yeah.
We got to interview his son one time.
Yeah,
he's still making guitars.
Yeah. So, okay, harmony guitar and amp and this heavy duty pedal. I smell a garage band forming right after this.
Oh yeah. Well, I always had buddies that also played, but then you get into when I was a junior in high school, that's when we first kind of got everybody that could play or even had instruments, or one guy had a car, and then you rehearse the entire summer, and then all of the beginning of the school year so you can play the talent show, and that was the gig. That was the gig that you play.
Yeah, nice.
So I did that junior and senior in high school, and then when I graduated high school, that's when I really started playing with local guys, and we would play right around the entire Pittsburgh circuit. So it was that's when I graduated high school. I moved on to I think I had a job at Subway or something in between college sessions, and I got a Japanese RG565, I want to say it is. Was my first really decent guitar was an Ibanez RG565, and it was great. I mean, I had that through a Fender M80. I don't know if you remember those amps.
I do.
Back. They had carpeting on them.
Yeah, solid state.
The great carpeting.
Yeah.
That was didn't Greg Howell, I think at that time,
endorse those?
Yeah, because he had the Fender heavy metal Strat.
Right. That's right, the HM Strat.
Yeah, and then I think that M80 series was his amp of choice at that time.
Right. Mm-hmm. Great sounding amp. I mean, it was like having a compressor built right into it, because I mean, it was great for when you're 18 and you don't know what an amp's supposed to sound like, but it really helps you play, because it's all compression.
Right,
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So back in the high school talent show days, what were your influences? What music did you play at that talent show?
Oh, geez. Okay, junior year, I do remember this because I still have a VHS somewhere. Okay, so junior year we played "Breaking the Chains" by Dokken.
Wow.
And an original. And then my senior year, we played Tesla, "Modern Day Cowboy."
Wow.
Right. Yeah, and we had the dual guitars going. Interesting story. The guy that played drums in my senior year is actually, I'm going back and doing a String of Dates in Pennsylvania. He's going to be the drummer for this String of Dates coming up. Fantastic drummer. He was 15 at the time. Amazing drummer. His name's Chris Compton, and he's like I said, he's going to be the guy that's going to be playing drums on the String of Dates I've got coming up. But kind of an interesting little side note.
That's great. That's great.
That's really cool.
Whereabouts in PA, or all the Pittsburgh area, or are you getting around Philly or anything?
Yeah, it's gonna be all around Pittsburgh, because it's hometown press, and I've got 97.7 FM that's gonna put me on the radio, and there's a local Armstrong Cable's they have a performance show for artists around Pittsburgh.
Nice.
And then all the shows that I'm playing are clustered within a week time, within 50 miles of Pittsburgh. So it's a lot of promotion for the next thing I have coming out.
Right.
That's really cool.
And this is a 3-piece?
No, what we're doing is we're actually playing a show at this place called Peter B's, which is a really cool. It's like a barn. It's between my hometown and Pittsburgh proper, and it seats. I think it seats 500 or something like that. But we're putting together this band that is the singer that was in one of the bands when I lived in Pittsburgh is singing, and then a local guy that plays with this guy Xander Demos, I want to say his name is, the local Pittsburgh guy. You may know that guy. He's the bass player of this band. So we're gonna put together 2 hours of some original and then all the classic hits that you can keep buying the next round of drinks while you listen to this music. You can guess what kind of music we're talking about. You're Breaking the Law.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All the entire Van Halen collection.
The entire album of British Steel.
Exactly.
That's cool, man.
That's It's drink buying music.
Exactly.
I love this one.
Play some Skinner, man.
That's right.
That's it. You got it.
Oh man. So, where are you based out of now?
Well, I've been in California since 1999.
Okay.
I actually lived in Philly for 5 years.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
And I had a band that we were signed to an independent record label named Big Green Limousine. And I played a couple of years with that band. And I did some solo stuff. But that was like just that was a transition to, before I moved to California. But we've been here since 99. And I'm based out of Camarillo, which is maybe 45 minutes north of LA proper.
Okay.
Okay.
What brought you out there eventually?
Well, you see, I have some relatives out here. I'd like to say that they helped me get out here, but really it was just a matter of my wife was hired on at a company and allowed us to move all of our furniture and cars. And, that initial trip to get to California was, it's expensive, and how do you do it? You quit your job and just go. And so, my wife having been hired on at this company really helped me out. But,
yeah, because that's got to be a culture shock in the volume of money being spent per month. Because
definitely,
it's really crazy out there compared to here.
Yeah, right. It's a little expensive.
It's crazy. Like the first time I can remember, we went and you have to buy groceries, and I think it felt like we had like $50 in condiments alone. It's like all the stuff you buy to put on the stuff that you're going to buy that's actually food.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that was like the initial, I remember, shock of going to the grocery store and everything was like. The gas is another $1 expensive out here. And it definitely is. It definitely is a culture shock in that respect.
Yeah.
So you had the luxury of moving out there because your wife's relocation was subsidized, but you musically weren't going there for something in particular. So how did you wind up in the music industry in LA?
Well, a couple of years prior, I had taken a trip out here to, sort of do the LA thing. And, I wanted to come out, by myself, but, I did the MI tour and, visited the relatives and things, but I just couldn't make it happen. But when I first moved out here, I mean, the truth is, there are a trillion local bands. I mean, that exist everywhere. And guys that, they're saying, oh, we're playing the whiskey, but they bought the whiskey so they could play there and say they're playing the whiskey. Like that exists. That pay-to-play mentality is alive and well out here.
Wow.
So, I went through a couple of years of trying to figure out how do I get in this inner circle of guys I want to play with, and I want to I want to play with better musicians. And so it really came down to this guy I was taking guitar lessons off of, who taught at MI, named Joey Basu, who was a guitar player for Jessica Simpson's band. And Joy was, if you don't know Joy Basu, he's just such an amazing player. And he had a deal back in, I think it was like the mid-90s, something like that. And just an amazing player. He taught me a ton in terms of technique. But as far as the business goes and, that inner circle I was talking about and, how to sort of get into a different, sort of level of player. I mean, from Joy's, from knowing Joy, he introduced me to Glenn Sobel, who recorded drums on my first CD. And Glenn actually is the touring drummer for Alice Cooper right now. Played with Impellitteri, he played with Gary Hoey on the live record. I mean, Glenn's been around the block. And then from Glenn, I met some other people and, and then you just do your rounds in Hollywood.
Yeah, and it really is all about networking, and I met this guy who knows this guy, and that's how most things get done everywhere. But I mean, we've heard plenty of people tell us the same kind of deal, all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you meet somebody, and they know somebody, and you meet that person, and all of a sudden, something comes along that you fit into well.
Yes,
right.
Well,
no matter what, musicians, they need to make a living. And so my benefit was that I had a day job, so I wasn't, sort of like the guy that, was trying to make ends meet. I was working so that I could, fund my projects or fund me getting into that circle I was talking about. So I immediately was just like, I put a CD together, and it was like 2003. And I was like, you know what? I think the only way I'm going to do this is if I hire musicians that I want to work with. And that really is what did it for me is realizing that, look, these guys that are in huge bands that are playing for, 10,000 seaters a night, when they're not touring, they also need to make a living. So that enlightenment of realizing that, look, these guys they just want to, they want to work too. Mm-hmm. And I did get lucky with having met some of the people that I've worked with too. That helped out.
That's cool. Sure. Man. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys when they come off the road, it's
sit around and look at the wall.
They still need to make a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, most people out there aren't on a salary 52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Right.
You come off the road, you got to do something.
Now that day job that you're talking about, that's the personal trainer thing, right?
No, you know what that was?
Oh.
I mean, here's the thing. My day job was completely unrelated to music. And, if you talk about when you're happiest, I could definitely point to any day job I've ever had that was unrelated to music and say that's when I was not happy, including the last year where I was trying to fund the next part of what I'm doing. So I actually had a day job the last year while I was doing all these other musical things. So it's just, I'm not even going to go into that because it's like having a day job is just, it did not work for me. And being self-employed and being 100% music is like I can work 24 hours a day and not look at the clock and be bummed out when I'm too tired to work anymore. Whereas working a day job was always, when's 4 o'clock coming? Mm-hmm. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
But as far as personal trainer, that was more of getting to the point where I wanted to educate myself on how not to get injured when I was working out.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, you don't want to pull muscles that you then need to do the thing that you want to do, like play guitar and run around on stage, and
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to be fit and stay in shape and not injure yourself to the point where you can't have fun and make music.
And you don't want to be a pussy like Paul Stanley, where you have to beat the guitar on the floor. You can just snap it over your head.
Right.
I didn't say that.
like Bo Jackson used to break bats. He used to just hold them in his hands and just snap them.
Seriously?
Yeah. He was a monster.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he used to break them over his knee, and then at one point he just started breaking them with his hands.
Wow.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I'll show you some videos.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's totally incredible.
Yeah, Bo Jackson was
Wow.
But then, he got injured, and that was the end of his career.
See? Yeah. You got to learn how not to get injured.
Exactly.
All right? So what was the I'm sure there was a lot of time playing locally in the area, but what was the first gig that you got hired onto to go out and do actual touring?
As far as California goes, I mean, obviously that's when I have to start because that's when it all started. But I was asked by Joy Betsu to do a sub gig, and this is for an artist that was she was a Mexican pop star when she was a kid, and her name is Toady. And when she was like 10, there was this group called the Microchips, and they were huge in Japan, kind of like Menudo or Guitarist, or just massive. I mean, they were all over TV, and it was like a kid's show. Mm-hmm. So obviously she was older when I was asked to be in her band. So I was asked to record the CD, and then we played all the local sort of when you try to develop an artist, you have to sell it to people that have money. Mm-hmm. And so I did all those shows. But that was probably the real first, I wouldn't say break, but the first time that I had worked for someone else where I was, was a named player.
That's nice, yeah. I mean, cool. I always like finding out where, because I'm sure that more than likely led to something else, led to the next step.
Yeah, it did, in fact. It was another Mexican soap opera star named Karina Rico. And the same company that hired me to record Toadie's record hired me to showcase Karina Rico's record. I didn't play on the record, but I played so much with her, and that was an acoustic gig. We did a ton of, telenovela, kind of programs. It was really neat. And she lived in this big mansion in Pasadena. I mean, just like old money, like huge palace. It was really cool. And I always, driving into Pasadena, I always heard that, look, if you're driving on the freeway, you'll be able to see David Lee Roth Palace, except you got to know where it is. That's the only problem. You know what I mean?
You can see it if you know where it is.
If you know where it is. But yeah, that was kind of neat. But that led to that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
it's just one thing. Yeah, exactly.
One thing leads to another. What's that a song? One thing leads to another.
Yeah.
There's a Fix. It was a Fix song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm right. But, it happens.
I don't know why I was thinking of another artist, but okay, I got you. I'm working with you. So how did you meet? And this is where we got to connect this because we were talking. Sure. You played with Bruce Bouillet.
That's right. Right. So I mean, you got to jump forward because there's so much that's in between the Karina Rico thing.
Well, what's in between? Give us what's in between.
It's all the solo stuff. It's all the clinics and the touring and the being associated with some of these companies that I've worked with. And I mean, really probably that in between part is that, I mean, we could talk for hours about my solo thing because that's where I decided, well, let me fast forward and then I'll go back.
Okay.
I had a minute where I was sort of putting my next CD together. And I don't know how deep I want to go into it, but I met Atma Noor, and Atma played on all the Shrapnel records. And he was introduced to me and played in my band and played all the songs that Glenn had recorded on my first CD. And we played all up and down the California coast. I mean, we played just a ton of dates, ending at the Baked Potato where we played. And, that was a great band. And in that band, I had this guy named, I'm going to forget his name, but he worked with his wife named Sonia Mateas, who was in Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Oh, okay.
And in that band, it was another developing artist deal where Paul O'Neill was developing Sonia Mateas after she was no longer in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And we had this band called Dude I Did It, where, again, it was like we played every place you could play in Southern California. I mean, every place, and multiple times, just over and over and over, beating it to death. So that was kind of between my first run of my playing with Atma, and I had Bjorn Englund in my band from Yngwie Malmsteen. So that was my solo thing, the first run. And then I did this brief thing with Dude I Did It with Sonia Mateas, and then after that I decided I was going to take a break from working with other people, and then had my second CD come out. And so I guess I could fast forward over my second CD, or I could go into detail about that.
Whichever. Sure. Yeah, man.
So my second CD was one of those things where I'm going, okay, I got to take the opportunities that I have right now of some of the people that I've met and having done what I did. Mm-hmm. And on my second CD, I've got Andrew Freeman, who now, he was in George Lynch's Lynch Mob. Mm. He was the singer for that band. And now he's doing Raiding the Rock Vault, which is a review in Vegas with Paul Shortino and all these other great names. Doug Aldrich plays guitar. And, man. They've done that for 2 years now. So Andy sang on my second CD. And then on drums, I have Jimmy DeAnda from the Bullet Boys. Wow. Who played drums on it. And
I loved him. He was a monster, man. I used to love watching him.
Dude, still as sick as he ever was.
Really?
An amazing John Bonham. He's John Bonham. He's so good. And so I had Philip Bino from Steve Vai's band play bass on it. And Joey Heredia from Scott Henderson band played drums on it. And I had a ton of people on it. Wow. I mean, that second CD is just, I got really lucky with some of the people that were on that. Ray Luzier from Korn played 2 tracks on it on drums.
That's crazy.
So yeah, the second CD, like I said, I'll message you later. I'll send you a copy of all my stuff. But that second CD was one that I put so much in terms of resources and money, and it just took forever to remix and re-record, and it took 3 or 4 years to make that second CD. But at the same time, my notion was I could take this as a band out on the road, and I could probably even fund it. And with the names that are in my band, we could do this. Mm-hmm. So at that time, Andy was doing this thing. He's like, it's not a big deal. We're going to do this. We're going to showcase at somewhere downtown LA for Raiding the Rock Vault. And what they were doing was shopping it for Vegas market. So he's like, I don't think it's going to do anything. Well, don't you know, 2 months later, he's got a year contract, and he's doing Raiding the Rock Vault. So my singer goes away.
Oh, man.
But I had high hopes for that, and thought maybe that could be something that would really do it. But, I'm still proud of the record. We didn't tour on that record. And, that kind of puts a close to that whole chapter.
Maybe you still can. Maybe after the Raiding the Rock Vault contract is up,
Oh, I would love to. Sometimes these guys, they get a little taste of, making, six figures, that it's hard for a guy like me to be able to fund that. But, I'm just a realist in that. But I would love to have. Andy's just, I don't know if you know Andrew Freeman, but he's just such an incredible vocalist and nails all those classic hits.
Wow.
I saw Lynch Bob. He's a great singer.
Yeah.
That's too cool.
So I went from that, and then I kind of, I don't know that. I did a lot of clinics. I did a lot of things for DiMarzio and Exotic Effects. So that was kind of like the interim between, solo stuff and I played a ton of showcases all around the U.S. for DiMarzio and Guitar Centers, Sam Ash, mom and pop shops. I was everywhere with that. And then right after that, I was kind of itching to get more music out because I always like to have something current that people can download on iTunes.
Sure.
So I met through my guitar, the guy that repairs my guitars, I met Bruce Bouillet. And Bruce and I did a song in 2013. I had some drums left over from Ray Luzier, and I assembled the drums, and I had this track, and I was like, I've been hanging out with Bruce, and sort of, we'll text back and forth, whatever. And I thought, why don't I just ask him if he would like to do it? So Bruce actually played the song. He recorded Lose an Ear with me. And so we kind of trade back and forth. If you haven't heard that one, I'll send that one to you too. But that one I'm really stoked on because, it's like, it's just everything I'd ever want to pop into a song. It's Bruce tearing it up and it's me trying to hang. It's just so awesome, man. I was so stoked about that.
And we've had that conversation, though, not to cut you off, but we had this conversation on the phone, me and Greg.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, do you do any of the Racer X stuff? And he said, in the show, and he goes, yeah. And I said, what is it like? Because he's doing Paul Gilbert's parts.
Okay.
And back in those times, Paul Gilbert was like trying to break a world record or something. He was like in a stratosphere with speed and everything. And what did you tell me? You said there was some passages where the stretch was so big, because Paul's a tall, lanky dude, that you had to like redo it, right?
Well, Paul did these stretches on the G and these string skips on the G and high E, where he would stretch his pointer, ring, and pinky from the 9 to 12 to 15. I'm going, dude, my hand doesn't even do that.
Wow.
So, and working the parts out with Bruce, I was like, bro, I'm going to have to tap that one little bit. And he's like, go ahead. He's like, basically he was like, dude, I took like 10 years off with tinnitus because of the Racer X thing. He's like, don't injure yourself.
Really?
Well, that was remember we had that conversation with Bruce. He was saying, but that's, I can imagine.
If you can get away with it with the right index finger, go right ahead.
Yeah. Just Paul Gilbert still is like, man, it's alien.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Is. Yeah, he, there's these shredders, and then there's like Paul Gilbert, and I think Phil X said it best one time. He was in an interview. He said Paul Gilbert plays incredibly fast, but he's so clean you could park a truck between each note.
Exactly.
Well, you can park a truck between that span too. Jesus Christ.
So I'm sorry. Go back to where you were there, because
Oh yeah, no, it's all true, man. And I grew up when I was 18. I bought all the Intense Rock 1, Intense Rock 2, and all I watched those things religiously over and over and over and over. And you get to the point where you stop learning from it, and you just watch it for entertainment.
Yeah.
Like the Richie Kotzen one. It's like the first one he was like 17. I'm going, dude, I'll never be able to play half that stuff, but let me just watch it because it's fun to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
And, but, the Bruce thing, he was putting together a live band. And I know he had done some things in the Midwest where he traveled and played with some other guys. But he was trying to get a showcase band together so that he could sort of take it to the next level. And having worked with him, he asked me if I would like to be the second guitar player in his band. And that was awesome. And
nice.
we rehearsed quite a bit. I got to tell you, from going to his spot where he lives and then taking it to a rehearsal room. We had a couple different guys in the bass player and drummer spots. I'll let him tell you who that was, but some pretty notable guys. and you know, and then when we had to get a different drummer for whatever reason, you know, I suggested Mike Hansen, who is playing with Bruce now, and Mike's played with Hurricane and George Lynch and a bunch of people. You know, Mike's just an amazing drummer. But so Mike was in there, and then and I thought that band was awesome. But that's kind of how that came about. He asked me because of the track we did together.
Wow.
Again,
once
something
again,
at least to somewhere else. But all right, all this time we haven't touched on gear, but during this time and you know your time with these bands, what kind of gear were you using? What's your favorite kind of go-to?
Well, right now I'm using Fishman pickups. I just signed with Fishman about a month ago.
Cool.
And I tell you what, you know them from acoustic guitar pickups. It's revolutionary what they've done with these active pickups that they've made, and so there's a lot to be said about the Fishman Fluence pickup.
Yeah,
you can compare them to other pickups. I don't think there's any comparison. I've never played a pickup like these, and that's always my first thing to do. Is I'll get a guitar, no matter what the price point is. I change the pickups out first, and I'll even name names. I mean, I was with DiMarzio for many years, and it's always fun to get a big box of free stuff in the mail, but you got to stand behind what you love. And I love DiMarzio, but I loved a couple of them. I didn't love all of them. I can tell you that it's hard for me to put the guitar down. The guitars that have the Fishman Fluence pickups installed in them.
Wow.
Like every guitar that I've played that's had these pickups, I'm like, that's it. They did it. It's done.
We've had my friend Richie Fliegler on, who Larry brought in to help with the R&D on the Fluence.
Yeah.
So
Frank's mentioned Richie Fliegler's name. I've not met him, but I understand he has a huge history in the business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah, he goes way back.
Yeah.
So amp wise, what's what were you playing back in the day, and how has it changed to now, or has it?
Well, no, it's different. It's way different. I'm working with Friedman. I work with Dave Friedman now, so I've got both of his. Like I've got the Pink Taco, which I actually use quite a bit live through a 212, and I've got the BE 100, which is just a monster amp.
The brown eye.
It's too much. It's too much for any.
Yeah.
I just think that's just it's a huge Mack truck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's too much amp. So I use the Pink Taco quite a bit. Yeah,
I love those names. I swear to God.
Well, the BE 100 is the brown eye.
The brown eye.
The brown eye. Jesus.
So yeah. So I don't know who named them, but they're fantastic amps.
Probably Dave.
I
know
funny.
Dave for a little bit.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
great guy.
So you're using that for your amps now? Is that just are you using those in the studio and live?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Well, here's the thing for studio. I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. I use the Axe effects, and for a couple of years I kept updating it, and all my settings would go away. And I'm to the point now where I think I'm at firmware 14, and they're up to 18 or 19, which I'm sure they're fantastic. But if it keeps changing, it's like someone's bringing a new amp into my house with a new set of mics and a new set of cabinets, a new speaker, a new everything. Yeah. So what I do is I left it at firmware 14, and I absolutely love it. So I use that for if I have to put a demo together. But it is it's the Friedman BE 100 patch that I use, which it sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
I use that for. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we saw that when you were doing the JJ Custom Ibanez.
Yeah, that's right.
And we could see it in the background.
Yeah, the BE.
Yeah, that thing. And we saw that. No, we saw the Friedman, but we also saw the Axe effects sitting there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff for Friedman in terms of like demo videos and stuff.
Cool.
But for me, it's like it's kind of a pain in the butt to fiddle with a mic and a mic preamp and the whole thing for 3 hours, as opposed to just plugging right into the Axe effects and just turning it on. I'm done. So I mean, there's a lot to be said about when you feel creative, you just flip a switch. If I have to go fiddle with a mic for 3 or 4 hours, I'm not feeling very creative at the end of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but as far as live, right now it's only Friedman live. I mean, I'm getting ready, like I said, to go back east, and I'm kind of, when you do fly-in dates, you never know what you're going to have. But if I can wrangle some Friedman for that gig, I'll do it.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, once you find something you really like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done. And then the other thing I do is, like I said, I worked with Exotic for a couple years, and I still have a couple of their pedals. I have the EP booster that is always in the signal chain. I mean, that's the one that, that I've used that for maybe 5 years or whatever. Every time I play, even if it's on just a little bit, it just does something to enhance the front end of whatever I'm going into, including the XFX, that I won't play without it. I love that thing.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, that's almost like what the conversation we had a week or two ago with someone that said the modeling apps and everything are fine, but put a nice preamp before it, so you get more of a real feel. It's probably the same type of deal here, where it's this is of course solid state, and he was speaking of a tube preamp, but it's something that's still analog and treats the signal a little differently than just immediately hitting the front end of a digital workstation kind of thing. So
what I will say though is I use I have a lunchbox, an API lunchbox, and it has the 550A 500 series EQ.
Okay.
And I also use the 573 mic preamp, and that warms it up considerably. I mean,
nice.
There are guys they'll use the XFX and make it sound like you can't tell the difference between that and a mic amp. But for me, like I said, I do like what you're talking about, the analog warmth. So I like the transformers in what would be like a NEV 1073, but rack space.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's cool. Now, our good buddies over there at Wayne Guitars.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I've known Michael I've never really ever met. I would love to meet Wayne. I've never met him. I don't know how visible he is anymore, but Michael I've known for more than 10 years. I met him at NAMM. No, I take that back. I met him at Marin County Guitar Show. It was he and Wayne, but Wayne wasn't available to talk to people. He was sort of inside the booth doing some sort of business with somebody. I really wanted to talk to him, but this other guy came out, and it was Michael. And I tell you what, I knew Michael for a year, not knowing that he was Wayne's son.
Really?
And I think whenever they had a booth, this was 2005 or 6 at NAMM. Then finally, I realized that Michael was Michael Charvel, Wayne's son. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and we've said that Wayne is probably the last guy from that original crew,
right?
Because he was there during he worked with Leo. He also worked with Les Paul and Bernie Rico. I mean, they were really good friends. So he's like the last guy, and he's one of the innovators. I mean, well, you got Grover Jackson too. He's now making guitars again, but just that whole beginning, being there and still doing it is just amazing.
I agree, man. And I have 3 of their guitars.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
And I have, and the thing about them is, there's magic there. They figure out all the tolerances. They figured all the angles. They figured it out. Once again, it's done.
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Wayne said he was fretting guitars now for 40 years. And he said that he works on every single neck. Now Michael's working on every, he's doing it too. But back when they started Wayne Guitars, Wayne would work on one neck pretty much for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they said when you got it in your hand, it felt like you've been playing it for 30 years. There was no break-in period. You got the real deal.
We had them both on, and that was a really, really great show. I'm very happy that we were able to get them on.
Absolutely, man.
I'm gonna have to find that. I'd love to hear an interview with Wayne.
Oh yeah,
it's in our archives, man. You got to check it out.
Yeah,
I will.
He starts talking about how they were making the cabinet.
Cabinet?
Yes, a cabinet where they were dropping the wattage.
Okay.
Attenuators.
Yeah.
Remember, I think they were talking about how they made an attenuator long ago, really, at the beginning, and they were doing some weird thing. Remember that? I have to go back and listen to that.
I don't remember that part of the conversation.
Yeah, but I had to listen to it again.
All of us did early attenuators with just big old variable resistors, kind of thing, and...
Well, I think he was talking about it way back when nobody even thought about doing it. They just did it for fun or something.
He's had a lot of fun over the years.
Yeah. I mean, really, if you think about Wayne Charvel, he was the first guy to hot rod a guitar.
Exactly.
You know, on some kind of business level. You know, and nobody had ever even thought about putting a humbucker and a Strat before him. You know,
right?
So
well, I have to tell you, one of my journeys has been to the Fender custom shop. Like 10 times I've been down there. So much so that the last time I went and took a group of guys, they're like, you were just here. Okay, you guys you're all on us. Go ahead, go in. Please go in. But the thing that's interesting about that is when you drive on the 210 to go down to Corona, you pass by all those little towns where they had the original Charvel custom shop, like the Wayne Charvel shop.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, I've talked to Michael about it, and he said, yeah, I think it's the building's still there or whatever. He's like, you know, you wouldn't be able to recognize it, but man, I would love to be a fly on the wall back in '78, whatever it was.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how cool that would have been.
Yeah, that was, you know, it was a different time, man. They were really just trying everything they could think of.
Well, you know, and I don't think anybody ever realized how cool it actually was back then. It was just like, okay, this is what we're doing, you know?
Yeah.
But it just, again, it's another thing that turned out to be a big piece of history.
Absolutely, man.
You know?
I mean, he changed, it was, you know, everybody acquaints it to Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
But if it wasn't for Wayne throwing those body parts away in the neck and him dumpster diving,
and
then
yeah, I'll take that one.
I think he bought the body for $20 and the neck for $30.
Yeah, Wayne had some good Eddie stories.
Oh wow, I got to find that interview. That's great.
Yeah. He said he was like 17 years old, sitting on the floor playing a guitar, going, "Yeah, we're getting ready to get signed," and he was like, "Yeah, every kid that comes in here says the exact same thing."
Oh man, wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
very
insane.
cool.
Yeah, man.
So, you also worked with, or are working with, I don't know, Delaney guitars.
Oh, well, you know, that goes back a couple of years. I think that goes back to 2009. Mike Delaney, I met him. I was working at a booth, and I was doing like a string endorsement, you know, sort of, at NAMM. I'm kind of hearing myself here in the playback. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. And so, but now I'm with Ibanez Guitars.
Ah,
nice.
So I'm really, really excited because, like I said, I went from, you know, really not so great guitars to my first good guitar was an Ibanez. So I'm kind of back to playing those. And throughout the years, I've collected a bunch of those guitars. You know, I've got a couple 7 strings. I've got the Universe and, you know, the Japanese RGs and,
sure.
You know, and I, you know, a lot of those years were spent woodshitting on the Ibanez Wizard neck, so it's like it's kind of nice to be back to that.
It's like grabbing an old friend, I guess.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in that one video, you're playing with it's called the JJ Custom.
The new
right?
video, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
That is like the absolute top of the line. That is the flag. I mean, that's their big one. Because
like it's not mine. It's a dealer's. But I'll tell you, when I had that guitar, I'll tell you, I couldn't get the video made quick enough.
Really?
And get it out of my studio fast enough because I was so nervous to scratch it or it fall or anything happening to it. But yeah, that guitar was like nothing. It just felt like I don't know, man. It felt like a velvet glove. I mean, it was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing guitar.
You know, they have their Prestige line, and their Prestige line they work the neck to no end. And so you're not, you know, it's not like the body is something special. The neck is, because they use titanium. They use a titanium rods inside of it with, you know, the 2-way truss rod to really give it stability. But it's a 5-piece neck, so it's got 3 pieces of quarter sawn maple with 2 strips of walnut, and then either a maple fingerboard or a rosewood fingerboard. Really stable neck. From the past, some of the past, they were kind of criticized because they had a scarf joint, you know, things like that.
That's what I'm playing. They when they got a guitar in my hands, that's what I asked for. The 2015, they came out with this Koa top.
Yes,
it's called the RG 652 KFX, and it's a Koa top.
Yep,
it's just as you're saying. It's got a rosewood fingerboard, and it is dead stable. I mean, it's amazing. It's a fixed bridge, the one I'm using.
Yeah, he's actually got it on his Skype icon.
Oh, cool.
Right, that's the one.
Yeah, but they really work the necks, and it's made in Japan, and it's you know, it's their premier line.
Yeah.
And then you want to go crazy, you go get the JJ Custom.
Yeah, and those things are nuts. It's funny. They the ones that I played were at at this dealer here in Southern California, and he had two of them. One was like a purple, and one was like this really rich blue.
Yeah.
And the story I was told, and what's on their website, is that they don't actually sell these guitars in the States. I don't know how this dealer managed to get two of them, but
wow.
Yeah, they're amazing guitars.
Wow.
And I don't even know what the price point is. I don't know if it's a $5,000, $10,000 guitar. I have no idea.
I heard like $4,000 or $5,000.
Okay.
$4,000 or $5,000, but you know, it's you look at it, you can tell that it's been worked to no end. I mean,
and you can't get them here.
And you can't get them here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Except for the dealer that wound up with two, and you know.
That's actually sixstring.com is the dealer I'm working with.
Oh, okay.
They sent me like the 2J Customs. Of course, they when my guitar came, it came right into their dealership, so that's how I got mine. And then I got I'm doing a Universe Premium that I just did a video for, and then more budget line, I did a Geo. But you know, I just try to play as well as I could, so that, you know, even for people that are on a budget, they can see that, you know, look, even at a couple $100, you can still get a great guitar.
Yeah.
And then I did an RG, which was like probably a $500 price point. Still a great guitar. I mean, it has DiMarzios in it, sounded great, played great.
Man, there are so many guitars nowadays that you know, a regular person trying to get something decent can afford, and it's it's not like back in the day where
you bought the Harmony.
When you bought right, and you know, the strings are half an inch off the neck, and it discourages everybody from playing because it can't play the damn guitar.
And you got to bench 318 like Greg, so you can just play it.
Exactly, so you can push the strings down. Nowadays, it's so different. You know,
my God,
you know, you can buy a $99 entry level like Fender pack at Christmas time with a tiny little amp in it, and it's something that's actually playable.
I'm just imagining that I would suck just a little bit less now if I started now. You know what I mean?
Right. If your first instrument was a now instrument,
exactly.
Yeah, but thank God, man, because you know, hopefully that just keeps bringing more people back into guitar playing that want to stay there.
Oh yeah,
right.
You know. And then everybody that gives lessons, or you know, there's more business in giving lessons and things like that.
Sure.
And you know, then people graduate into better guitars, and then into custom made guitars and custom made amps, and then we're all happy.
And then Jeff can eat at night.
That's right.
Hey, is it okay with you if we run those two videos on our front page?
Absolutely, that would be great. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We will have those two videos where he's playing both of those JJ Customs on our front page. And you can see how crazy he can play.
How a player plays them. Yes. And Greg, before we go, I got to ask:
Sure.
all your CDs and stuff that you've recorded, everything's still available to the public?
Yeah, everything's on iTunes.
Perfect.
My first CD, if you just look up Greg Marra, you can go to my website. It's all searchable through that.
Okay.
I've got a merch page with.
The link will be on our front page.
Yeah, we'll put the link.
Thank you.
Like
Appreciate
with everybody's.
That. Yep, and it will stay there in perpetuity.
That's in perpetuity. Yeah, there you go. And forever, too.
The one thing that I want to ask, and I guess then we can wrap up, is, Greg, the one thing that I noticed about your playing, and I you know,
it's good.
Well, not only that, the speed thing is one thing, and I look at that and I go, well, you know, the speed thing's been kind of conquered. You know, there's guys out there
not by me, but you know.
Well, yeah, but there, you know, guys that can do that. They do it, and it's all kind of the same. But what I always look at once, you know, I see that the guy can play, you know, especially as fast as Greg can. His right hand, it's just there's no waste. It's just complete efficiency with his right hand. We'll have to watch it again.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And that to me is always, because like I don't have that. You know, I just flail energy all over the place. You know, but it's amazing the discipline that's in that right hand. You know, and so when everybody watches it, watch his right hand.
Anything special about that? Any point in time where you went, I'm going to play like this, or I want to play like this, or I need to be efficient, or you remember any point in your life where your playing style changed?
Definitely do. You know, I think it was when I realized that I wasn't going to be like a sweep player. Like I think probably in my 30s, I realized I wasn't going to be a certain type of player.
Okay.
And I realized, you know, like I really like Blues Saraceno's style of very. It's more syncopated.
Sure.
And you could hear the division between the 16th notes and the triplets, and you could hear all the different beat division. And I think I just got to the point where I was like, man, I'd rather try to cop some country licks or, try to fake that like I'm playing these country chicken picking licks than to be able to play like stuff that I know I can't, and then it's not in my heart. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I definitely think more rhythmically in terms of what my right hand's doing, and I'm always hearing some sort of division of a 16th note or 16th note triplet, whatever it is. And but more importantly, since I don't have a singer in my band right now, I have to play the melody. So I always felt like that the way Neil Sean did it was he did it. He played a solo that you could sing to. Yeah. So I don't know if I always achieve that, but that's always my goal.
Exactly.
Well, those two videos, it's pretty much there.
There's a lot of feel behind the notes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's not just a blaze of notes. It's it's
right. Just for the sake of I can fit more notes in than you can.
I always like to compare it to like Steve Morse.
Yeah.
Steve Morse is one of those guitar players that will play like this whole passage of very bends and nice notes, and then all of a sudden 40 notes out of nowhere will just go blazing by.
Yeah, but it doesn't stay there too long.
No,
it's just,
and that's the cool part.
It's executed very well.
Yeah,
and then it's back to the root of things, and
absolutely,
that's taste.
Right.
That's
yes, it
taste.
is. It would be like dynamics for a drummer.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's
a great point.
Yeah, maybe that. I don't know.
But yeah,
hell, I'll say whatever.
It's not a drum show, so you can't do that too often.
Exactly. Well, they're locked in their own car anyhow.
We're not going to go there. Well, Greg, anything else you want to add before we have to part ways?
Yeah, guys, really, thanks so much for talking, and it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you having me on.
Our pleasure. Thanks for taking the time. And sorry that your food is cold now.
No, I've been eating as we've been talking throughout the hour, so it's all
wow,
good.
That's amazing.
See, he can not only play guitar, he can eat and talk at the same time, man. Now, there's some talent. There's some talent.
The other job is ventriloquism.
Right.
There you go. Oh, my God.
Awesome.
All right, well, Greg, thank you so very much for taking the time. We really enjoyed having you, and best of luck with everything. Best of luck with the Pittsburgh tour-ish, and continued success in everything musical that you do.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. You guys too. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. Have a great rest of the day, and digest your food now.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well, and there you have the story.
Man.
Yet another example of you meet this person, and this person introduces you to this person, and networking is how life gets done.
Yeah. Without going into anything, I always tell my kids this. I'm like, you just work. That's what you do. You work. You
do.
You may have to say yes to something that you go, but if you just do it and you just keep at it, and you don't. How is it? You just don't approach it as like some burden. You want to go in it like Pete Thorne, where it's like, yeah, sure, because that guy's going to tell the next guy, and then that guy's going to go, well, I really trust this guy. Let me call his buddy and see what he can do.
Yeah, and I think we're back to say yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of say yes, and then when someone calls, it's, oh yeah, I called the guy. He said yes, and he was real easy to work with. So you might want to try him first, and
it looks like with a lot of this stuff, you're going to have to, you have to keep an open mind. And as much as you can, if you have control and you want to use like a real amp or something, then that's cool. But there's probably going to be times when you don't have that control, and you may have to use one of these.
You go into a project that's like, this is how we're doing this, because this is where we have to do it, and this is what the budget dictates. And if you want to play on it and you want to get paid from it, this is what you play.
I always remember what Pete Thorne said, because he was like, the guy before him said, doesn't use any of your monitors. Pete never used them, and he went, sure, I'm a good one. And he got the job.
Because that's how this gig rolls.
In-ear monitors is the difference between getting hired and not.
Right. Yeah, and see, Greg's one of these guys where it's like out of convenience, but also I think out of comfort at this point.
Sure.
Uses the modeling kind of thing, the fractal.
He likes the idea that in 3 minutes he can be recording.
Right.
So when the idea hits you, those things are they're just invaluable.
Well, I think he uses it for end product too. Final product.
You'll see on the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I've known plenty of people over the past couple of years that have done releases that way.
Sure.
And again, there's no big budgets anymore. A lot of times, it's where you have to record and how you have to record. Sometimes you're not afforded the luxury of moving air. And he's obviously gotten comfortable enough with this fractal. So, these are the sounds I want to hear. I don't want to keep updating because I keep losing what I really, really have come to enjoy. These are the sounds I want to hear. I know how to use it, and yet again, putting something in the front end of it.
Yep.
To make it, whether it's solid state or tube, it's analog, and it changes the feel.
Just a little bit of a change there makes a big difference, I guess.
So maybe you learn how to deal with the latency a little bit, but the feel of it becomes more real and less. Wow, this just doesn't. It doesn't feel human. It doesn't feel like an amp. So maybe the front end, putting something on the front end really changes that.
Well, here's the thing. I know a guy that has a new one. Axe FX 2. Okay, that's the one that they talk about. And he just texted me the other day and said he's now into the thing. He's got some settings and all. And I said, well, look, dude, I want you to come here and we're going to plug that thing into this preamp and we're going to take a listen. And we can hear it firsthand and give the listeners something to listen to. I think it would be great because then we can kind of get a feel. Because, see, when you're hearing it, when you're hearing it on a YouTube video and it's coming out of that little tiny speaker, you can put a set of headphones on and listen through 1080p and it'll be very clear and very, but we'll be able to just capture the audio direct and have it right here. And we can do, and we can go through clean and dirty and not so dirty and, those types of things. So I think
it'll be interesting.
We can, do a little comparison.
We'll do something with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe it'll be a show. Maybe it'll be a whole different segment thing. Maybe it'll be maybe you'll put it up on a YouTube channel or something. I mean, who knows?
We could do both.
Yeah, well, we could
because we have that crazy capability.
That's right.
Yes,
we can do anything we want to do.
So, until next time, my friend,
when we'll be doing anything we want to.
I'm Mick Marcelino.
Yes, you are, and I'm still Jeff Bober.
Yes, you are.
That's right.
And we're saying
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @Amps and Axes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.